All right, we are recording now. This is an introduction for those of you who are watching at home. We've just had our roll call and we're greeting everybody in class. Now, one of the things for those of you who are part of a live class you really need to continue doing is to work on your own projects outside of class, because we can only do so much if you don't. However, it's my job to help teach you more skills for you to practice with. So when you get outside of class, you can practice. Today, one of the things I'm going to do is a spriting demo. I'm going to show you how to change out sprites. Yes? You guys have probably done this already, but I'm going to show you a little bit right here, right now. We've got a car. I gave it some outrageously overblown animation so that everybody could see it at the back of the room. For those of you watching on video, it's probably like, why is that car having a seizure? It needs meds. There we go. Good, yes? Good. So, are you guys making stuff on a similar nature as that? Have you got your sprites going yet? Have you got animations going? Anybody? Yes. As a show of faces, could you raise your face? Let me see. Okay, we've got some faces raised there. So I have got in this one two different sprites. One of them is called Sprite Car Weights, SPR_car weights. Remember, always name your sprites SPR something. Some people also just name them S car weights. I always do SPR_. It's a few more letters, but it's just a habit of mine, and it's very common. And your object should be named either O car or OBJ_car, something like that. Some people just call it OBJ car. I do OBJ_car. But name, as long as you stick to your what you call naming convention, you're fine. So this sprite, and we can hit preview, and you can see what it's doing. You can actually change the speed of your car, your animations as you get into it. So I can go to half speed, will be 15 frames per second, and that's what it looked like going slower. In this case, it's going full speed. You don't want to slow down your sprite via making more images. If you made an image and it's going too fast, you're like, hey, I'll just add 10 more and it'll slow it down, right? Well, now you've got the game saving a file that's got 20 images when all you really needed was 2, right? So I only need 2 images for this one, thankfully. And it's just the car kind of going up and down. So it looks like it's kind of chugging along. And when the car drives, as you can tell, I've got something similar. I just drew the wheels into circles, and I jiggled it up and down a little bit at one point so you can really get a look at it. As a video game, it's really good to be overkill on stuff, to make things bigger, to make it bolder, to make it a little bit more out there to where people can really tell what you're doing, right? So when the car is created, we're going to select a sprite by default called car weights. And the other thing I'm going to do is when we're pressing, and I'm going to take this, let me take that off. Since we're doing sprites, when there's no key, I'm going to set the horizontal speed to 0. And you guys found that? It's add event, keyboard, no key. That means you're not pressing anything. That will usually serve you well. Sometimes it'll glitch out because you have to do something like you might have a sprite that says if you're floating in the air, you might have a different sprite. You know, you might have a guy with a cool jump kind of a look. That's fun too. A lot of times people ignore that. And I think it's little details like that that really help your game to really be cool. So if you've got a guy running along, and when he's in the air, he's still like freewheeling his legs in the air, right? That looks kind of silly. So you'll want to have an animation for him just holding still. Or you could just change it to image speed of 0, right? So how are we going to do that? We're going to hit no key, and we're going to go up here to the main 1 tab, and we're going to grab change sprites to, what are we doing? No key to car weights. And the speed is going to be 1, the sub image. You guys remember sub images? We can see it right here. Sub number of images 2, show 0, show 1. If you were editing it, you would see it right there. Image 0, image 1. It's also right up here. We might be outside of the screen a little bit. Car weights. It shows image 1 of 2 up there, but that's not the image number. Be aware of that. Up here where it shows image 1 of 2, right there, image 2 of 2, that's just showing you how many images. That's not the image number. The image number is right there on screen. It says image 0, image 1. It always starts at 0. So if you tell it, oh, I want you to use image 1 for this, you might be confused. You're like, what? That's not my first image. Your first image is image 0, right? So that's what that is when it says, what is the subimage? Subimage is going to be 0, but we're going to give it speed of 1. Now this is where it's going to get interesting because we push left and we're going to change it to, and I'm going to show you the glitch that you're going to get. I know what glitch you're going to get. Car drives. And we're going to go change sprite to car drives, right? You got me? We could also have this based on speed. If your car has a speed that's not equal to 0, that's another way to do it. Oh, what happened? All right. Can anybody see a problem here?
Well, the front kind of goes up a bit.
The wheels don't spin.
The wheels don't spin, Mr. Little. I know the wheels don't spin. Stop criticizing me. All right. What's going on? You guys are going to see this in your games. And for those of you watching at home, I know you've seen this when you push the button and you're wondering, I told it to change sprites, and yet, here it is. It didn't change. What happened? Anybody have a guess what happened? I know the answer. I'm going to tell you. Anybody want to guess, though? Nobody? For those of you at home, your instructor is met with blank, yet I think anticipatory stares. They are either wondering when they're going to be fed or when they're going to get the answer. I don't have any food on me, so I may be eaten. The thing is, what we have here is a keyboard event, right? You guys know the difference between keyboard press and keyboard? Mm-hmm. Keyboard. It means the keyboard is active. The keyboard is currently engaged. The user is currently hitting the keyboard, and you are telling it to change the sprite. You're telling it to change the sprite. Now, if you're paying attention, you heard what I just said. The keyboard is active, and you're telling it to change the sprite. What does that mean to you? It means that you're telling it to change the sprite, telling it to change the sprite, change the sprite, change the sprite, change the sprite, every single step. Change. So you can't see what's happening here, but what the computer is doing is saying, they've got the keyboard down, so I'm going to change the sprite, change the sprite, change the sprite, change the sprite, change the sprite. And you told it to start at sprite 0, so it's doing it. It's just going ga 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 ga. So what we need to do is tell GameMaker to stop doing that. And a weird way to do this is instead of saying subimage 0 is right here. This is a whole trick. There's a whole trick. You might want to make a note of this because when you run into this later, you're going to forget. -1. -1. -1 is GameMaker slang. It means if it's already running, it means go ahead and use the last one. So, oh look, it works now. That was it. That was it. That is just a quick override to tell GameMaker, instead of picking the sprite, -1 is used all the time. It's used for timers too, like an alarm. This happens all the time in a step event if you tell it to throw in a timer. Have you guys used alarms yet, timers? Timers are your friend. They're great. You could put a delay on something and then it'll trigger it a minute later. So you could do as soon as you create it, go ahead and, I don't know, add missiles to it or something, right? So -1 is something that will come up a lot. -1. Now, what about setting up? Pressing up, we have our code from our platformer. This car can jump, man. Pretty darned awesome, isn't it? Pretty darned awesome. We're going to make it jump. Isn't that exciting? Now, this is what I talked about. Your sprite is going to keep on freewheeling in the air because it's responding to my keyboard inputs. Because I'm pushing left, it's got the animation. I'm pushing right. I'm still pushing right. Now, if I let go of the button midair, you see it'll stop. Do you see that? This is where having a different animation for the car being in the air, it might be a good thing. Now, how would you, inquiring little minds, if you guys wanted to tell your game, use a different sprite, like one that's jumping sprite, how would you tell the game to do that? Anybody? No thoughts at all?
You just use the change sprite function.
You could. Where would we add that to our game?
Control. So like, if I press right, change to right, till I release right, then leave me on staying still, right.
You could do on release. Now I have a problem with adding code for on release. It sometimes will give you glitches. The reason is because say you're pushing left. What happens when you push left? You release right. So you might get a conflict. It says, oh, you're pushing left, but you also have code that says when you release right to do something, right? So a lot of times a good way to do it is to say, in the case of the car jumping, you could have it say, if there's no space, if there is a free space below you, right? Just like on gravity, we could use that same code. So that's another good way to do it. Oh man, I messed up. I'm trying to select all my car. I'm just making a really quick. Boop, 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 boop. Look at that, the whole cab. Oh man, I did it again. This is going to make for the most boring video ever while I continue to fail to select all that. There we go. Boom, boom, boom. Get crazy with your sprites. I mean, this is a video game, right? This is not your math homework. Have fun with it. There we go. So now it looks like it's flying. So what we could do is we could add, in the step event, if position is collision free, let us change the sprite, right, to jump. Now, have you guys done this yet? We just overrode something. You remember in our previous class we said if position is collision free, there's nothing underneath you. We want to go ahead and turn on gravity, but we also want it to turn to the sprite for jump. That's a problem because now we've got a step event where it says change the sprite jump. It's just going to do that all the time. So what we need to do is group this together with this little guy. Check that out. You guys see that? These little arrow guys are essentially a way to group stuff. We start with the up arrow and go to the down arrow. And what that says is that when you get a confirmed on this collision free, when you have a collision free of 10, do everything below. You follow me? So now it's going to set gravity and change to jump. So we're going to check that out and hopefully it'll work because I didn't test this previously. Da-da. Da-da. Now it might be easier to tell what's going on if we added something a little bit more dramatic. Did I change it to? Oh, no wonder. -1. See? Speed of 1. Subimage -1. For those of you watching on screen or at home, let's go ahead and edit this really quick. And I will just draw on here so that you're absolutely certain. Boop. Ooh, I love that arrow. Look at that arrow. That's probably like the best arrow ever. There we go. So now you know it's up. Maybe I didn't add my up animation. Wasn't dramatic enough. So rather than using a keyboard input that could get conflicting information, we're telling it, if there is air under your tires, change to the jump sprite. Okay? There we go. See that? Now you can see the arrow. You follow me? All right, it's the time for the golf clap. It's very nice. Very nice. All right, we have any questions out there on this? I think I will go ahead and stop the recording on this topic. If there are no more questions here.
This looks pretty simple.
This looks pretty simple. So there you go. There is our topic focus on the subject of spriting. And this is my recording through Open Broadcaster software going on into infinity. Thanks for joining the online class. We will continue with the live class. Have a great day.